I've been working on my portfolio and I came across some videos of a project that was portfolioizing that were basically me modeling, then rigging, and then animating a character. Several characters, in fact. I decided to take one of those characters and instead of just making it a portfolio item, I also wanted to make it a YouTube video, which you're now seeing. Which has as main reason that I know that I'm doing something quite differently than the traditional workflow for modeling, rigging, and animation. Nowadays, I mostly describe myself as a technical lead. I figure out how to get from one point to the other. I figure out how the pipeline can be optimized, how the turnaround times can be optimized. And I communicate with the team and take responsibility on how all of the individual things are done. So through osmosis, I've kind of retained this skill of mine. As an addition, if you ever need a technical lead or a programmer or a technical artist for 3D, for 2D texturing, I do commissions. You can also hire me on retainer. So if you have a project like that, contact me via my website. And then you're faced with a project that has quite a tight deadline, like this one, and where you are in charge of scoping up and down the project as befits. So at the point that you're seeing me model this character, I think I had about 4 weeks left before I had to turn in about a 40-second animation, which meant that I used some tricks that I normally use, which is, for example, putting objectives every hour apart. So, for example, I say I model the head, and that's going to take an hour. And then I model the torso, and that's going to take an hour. And then I model the legs, and that's going to take an hour. And then you continue this, and eventually you get a very short time span up where you actually get a fully functioning model or even rig. Keeping that short also means that you're automatically scoping down while you're going, or scoping up if you actually feel confident with something. Because there is a lot of things that, you can do cleaner, you can do better, you can do more efficient. But eventually what matters in this case is the turnaround time and the quality that you get for it. So while you're going, you actually make those choices. Besides that constraint, that quick actually got me to cut a couple of the traditional parts that I talked about earlier. So traditionally you do references, blockout, sculpting, topology, and then you do rigging, UV editing, texturing, and all of the things that you still have to do before you can actually put this character or this object into the scene or into an animation or render it. And I just cut blockout, sculpting, and topology. I just immediately went for the topology using the references made by Annabelle Bradler. Which means that I can just immediately focus on topology that works for the rig, that works for making the character texture nice, and also works for the character deforming, like it will in the end. It also means that I can immediately focus on topology that is good. There are some moments that I saw in the video and that I still strictly remember from actually working on this, that I was like, this looks disgusting. For example, you have a triangle that I made while dissolving, and usually I fix that later on. That was just a bit of a supporting thing, or like, hey, let's just quickly fix this, and then later on when I am actually cleaning up this entire area, I'll fix it. Or it's there on purpose so that I actually have good edge flow, or because I need to have support. And as long as they're not n-gons or they're bad topology, it doesn't really matter if it looks ugly. At least not from a functional standpoint. It still matters to me that it looks ugly, like on video. Otherwise I wouldn't be talking about this and digging this big hole for myself. It just matters that it works functionally. You might notice that I'm using the topology also to immediately make the details that I want. There's the shirt. The shirt has a bit of an overhang, and using proper edge flow, having a supportive edge loop, you can immediately get that illusion of it being cloth. And all that took for me was just, I think it was less than 2 minutes, maybe even a minute of like, okay, that's where the edge loop's supposed to go. Okay, let's stretch these out. And then I continue, in this case, to the color and then to the bit of the gaps, basically the shoulders. And I can immediately put in that a bit of the geometry that I'm going to need for if I actually want to make the shoulders be able to square and rotate and the cloth respond to that. And then when the modeling's done, and when I have UV unwrapped it and I have rigged it, what I can then do is I can do another pass while sculpting to get the extreme specific details if I really needed to. And then bake those into a texture map, like a diffuse or normal map, which saves so much time because I don't have to re-topologize. I already have good topology, and then with that good topology I can then make even better detailing. I realized that this character actually doesn't have any visible knees or elbows because their pants are baggy and they have tall boots, so those knees practically just get ignored. But in characters that you make with this technique that do have knees or elbows, those joints, there is a very specific type of loop that you want to make, just so that the crease of that elbow, of that joint, and the bulge kind of come out right. Because you don't want to actually have it deform in a way that just feels like it's like a paper straw. You want to deform it like it's an actual thing with a bone in it. That requires specific topology that in this case you can immediately set up and optimize. That, and the person modeling, the person doing all this topology, also then has the ability to put that creative decision in there on how the joint will look when it deforms. In a bit, or maybe right now, I don't actually see the replay, there is me making the shoes, the boots. And I know for myself that I absolutely hate making boots because they're a weird turn of geometry. You're going from one cylinder practically into a cube or another cylinder, but that's completely 90 degrees. And I've always found that difficult. And my only solace really is knowing that other artists that I have seen do this, or other examples, also find it really, really hard to get right edge flow there. So this is definitely something that I want to improve in. But right now, you can actually see me just struggle at it. Not only that, the artist of the references has put the feet slightly rotated, which is not how I model. I need to model that straight. So later on, you'll also see me put a little shape key in so that it does actually fit the reference, but I can always go back and model or change, and then I can keep on going back and forth in the reference and also in a way that I can orthographically see what needs to happen. So I can see that the amount of recording that I've done for modeling this character is about to run out. After the modeling came rigging, which was its own separate process. I remember when I got the reference art, I told Annabelle, "Girls got poof," in reference to all of that hair that she has. And when I was doing the rigging, I made sure that there was a specific hair rig so that hair could bounce and bob the way that you'd expect hair to work. And then, because there's also other things going on, there's like a week or a week and a half of doing animation, making sure that that 40-second animation that needed to be delivered in the end was actually delivered. That meant that texturing still remained, and I kind of want to see if I have enough time in the coming weeks to do the texturing. In which case I'll record that and make a video about it separately, because it overlaps with one of my other favorite pastimes in terms of my work sphere, which is doing texture art. Going into the end of the video, I think I should show some examples of how the animation and the rig worked, just kind of how it came to life in the end after 7-8 hours of work. And yeah, if you enjoyed watching this type of video, if you enjoy seeing me being alive in general, do give a little like, subscribe, that kind of stuff. I'm not that big of a YouTuber, I just like to post whatever I have. And I do know that, improving my ratings does actually help me in spreading my art and spreading who I am on the internet. So it would help. Thank you very much.